Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen Darcy, and we're here during the Making Dad Summit. And of course, I'm with my co-host, Sarah Nab. And we're going to be talking about Been There, Done That today. And I'm really grateful that Jay's with us also. So hi, Jay. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
So I am really fortunate to introduce our guest today. I've actually known him for a very long time. Basically, I've known him since he was born. Jay is my little brother, and we've been talking, and throughout the summit, we talk about how having these difficult and awkward conversations can make a big difference to your health and to your to building your family. And it's a perfect example of how an awkward conversation turned into something awesome. So when I started track, I learned a lot about men's health. And of course, I have 4 younger brothers, so I always came home at holidays and summer break and pretty much always talked about men's reproductive health, and it was kind of awkward. And but my brother Jay and his wife, they had a baby, but then when they came around to baby number 2, they were having a little bit of difficulty, and Jay had the courage to kind of like go, "Hey sis, like, is there anything I can do?" And so I said, let's get track. Let's see what's going on. And so started there. So Jay, maybe you can share a little bit more how it went from your side.
Yeah, well, so basically, a couple years after I got married, my wife and I, decided that we were ready to start a family. And when we started to try to conceive, we got pregnant almost immediately. It was, no problem. And, we kind of thought that that's just how it went. And we were not going to, have any problems conceiving because we were able to do it. And so, we had our son, Jack. And then 2 years later, after Jack turned 2, we decided that it was going to be time to give him a baby brother or sister. And so, we started trying right away, and, nothing happened. And, we thought, oh, maybe this, maybe that, maybe it's not going to be as, quick as the last time, but it'll happen, we're both fine. And so, 6 months into the process, we completely missed our window of when we exactly wanted to have our baby, and all of those plans kind of fell apart. And on top of that, we were not, having any luck whatsoever. And so, obviously the first thing we thought of her, because, when a lot of people have this preconception about conceiving, about how important it is, for the mother, have everything. And she had some stress in her life and things like that. But, just through, the way things worked, you being my sister, we had these conversations about men's fertility and how there was an opportunity or a chance that it, could be me, which, I never thought was possible because of how easy it was to conceive my son. And so, we got the track device. I took that first test, and oh my goodness, it was like I barely registered, and I took it again thinking that was wrong or something, and it was pretty much an identical result. And so I took the survey that was that was with the device, that came with the device as far as the app is concerned. And, I did it honestly. There's, no reason to lie in those circumstances. And it came back and said, yeah, it's not a surprise that you are, you got some serious diet and environmental and behavioral changes that you need to make to improve your score. And so that kind of changed my whole outlook on the process of, yeah, this is now my problem, and this is something that I need to fix. And so I, just made the changes that it recommended. I cut out some of the drinking and the smoking and the things like that were, even though they weren't like huge problems, you know, or anything like that in my life. They still were toxins that I was introducing into my body, as well as, you know, terrible food that I was eating, you know. And at
Can
this
I
stage
stop
of my
you
life,
for a minute? Can I love that you're sharing this, Jay,
I'm sorry.
because
Okay.
I love that, because it's like that you never put those together, that those lifestyle changes could be impacting your overall health, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And those, like, especially because I'm a relatively young man, you know, I'm 30 years old. So, like, they didn't have the physical effects that they would have, you know, later on in life, that it's like your doctor comes in and says, you really need to change this or you're going to die soon or something like that. But they were really restricting me in this regard. And so I was able to take advantage of that need that I needed to do anyway, by having some kind of impetus to do it. And that's what, you know, track was able to provide. And I was pretty happy about that. And then after I made those changes for about 3-4 months, I was able to get my score up on the track device. And then, you know, within another month after that, we got a positive pregnancy test, and we just had our baby girl about a month ago.
The crowd goes wild. Hey, you're like the poster boy for the tracks, because you took the action, you tested yourself. Just the fact that you're open and talking about this, because you know, there's that I can feel it in you. There was a part of you that you're like, man, I never even thought that, you know, this bag of Doritos or whatever, you know, you were doing was affecting your overall health and your sperm. Like,
yeah,
that is so profound.
Yeah, and they're really like small changes that, you know, it doesn't even, you know, like not having my cell phone in my pocket all the time. It's like that, though that was a habit that I needed to break. It didn't, like, trading that for the opportunity to have my daughter is like, it's such a no-brainer, you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm like it.
Now, can I ask you this?
Yeah.
Did it ever occur to you before this that you have this baby, you have your cell phone, you put it in your pocket? Did it ever occur to you like there was no connection, like, man, I'm heating up down there, or this is not a great thing, right?
Of course not. You know, like, it's not exactly something that's in the front of everybody's mind. Like, if I was getting zapped or something, maybe, but like, you know, it's just normal activity. And, you know,
well, I would love to interrupt you just for a second and make a man, everybody who's listening to this, think about it. If you're a guy, is your phone in your front pocket?
Definitely. I'm sure that most people would say yes, you know, especially men that have the pockets to have a phone, you know.
You know what, Jay? I'm going to start looking, and it's going to make me look really weird, because I'm going to start looking at men's pocket. It's going to look like I'm looking someplace else. Like,
don't be a creepster, Chris.
I'm going creepy.
Are you happy to see me?
I'm going creepy. Next time I'm at the mall, I'm going to start counting. I'll do my own statistical data of this, because can you imagine? Like, that is so important what you just said, Jay.
Yeah. And, you know, you can't pinpoint any specific change that I made to be the silver bullet that got the job done. But overall, just taking it seriously and doing everything you can, all of that kind of added together to the point of where we were able to get to. And that was really, you know, fulfilling.
Well, you know what? It's called subfertility, right? Because it's like you're making these little changes, and it's like a combination to a lock, and you take your phone out of your pocket, but maybe you don't have that extra beer on the weekend, or all those other little subtle changes that you do, because it takes how long, Sarah, for new sperm to be made? 3 months?
Yep. 72 days.
And listen to what you said, Jay. You said it was easy. I started making these changes, and within 3 months, and as soon as you said that, I'm like, with how powerful is the body?
Well, I mean, yeah, it was, and I had so many other like physical, like, benefits that happened as a consequence as well. I felt better about myself, both mentally and physically, you know, and it helped my relationship too, because, you know, I'm making these considerate changes and really trying to, you know, be committed to it. And, you know, it showed. And like that was, and it wasn't one of those situations where, you know, she was just going through this and I was just kind of along for the ride. We were kind of going through it together. And that, I mean, that built our relationship substantially.
Maybe you could talk more about that, because I really think this is like a powerful thing of like the shift in a marriage where it becomes me and you in it.
Yeah, as far as having children is concerned, like that really solidifies and brings people together, you know, as a marriage or as a couple. But that generally doesn't happen until after the baby's born. Like, you know, yeah, there's some sacrifice while she's pregnant, that you have to, like, you know, help her along and, you know, put on her socks or something sometimes. But the whole fertility process, like that brought us together before. And so this entire pregnancy, from before we were able to conceive all the way through, it felt like a team process, and more so than it did with the first one. And it was, you know, it was in this kind of like this track, this are doing what we did with track and doing these changes together and making ourselves, you know, committed to an end goal. You know, it really, you know, our failures were halved and our successes were doubled, and that was wonderful.
That is awesome. That's such a tweet right there.
Our successes were halved.
No, our failures were halved
and our successes
were doubled. Oh. So now, did your wife also make the same subtle, not taking her phone out of her front pocket, but, you know, when you were doing the lifestyle changes, did you both do the same ones?
Yeah.
Like,
well, no, her bigger thing was that she led a fairly stressful life. Like, so we made changes with her job, you know, with the way how we were dealing with our son, things like that, to try to relieve stress from her. Because we could identify fairly quickly that would be the one thing that, like, based upon the research that we did, what her doctor said, all of these different things, that would be the primary thing that kind of drove her, you know, any problems that she would be having. So while I was making these changes, like environmentally, with my diet and, you know, behaviorally, she was making sure that she could be pretty low stress, you know, things like that.
So let me ask you that. Are they ingrained now? The changes that you made, are they like ingrained in you even post pregnancy, post trying? Like
yeah. Yeah, I'd say that they've stuck more so. I've relaxed a little bit, but more so than ever. Like the thing, like the phone in the front pocket, that's just not. That's now a habit that I don't have very much. And then there's, you know, a lot of things that I did. I eat considerably differently now than I did before, because it's just like one of those things that you do it long enough and then you realize the positive benefits of it. You just kind of go along with that.
You know what is so profound about tracks and what it has done? It's shifted your mindset, right? And now, not only were a healthy, you know, man trying to procreate, now you're a healthy father.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was, you know, I've made changes, you know, thinking about it for my kids, and, you know, now I get to actually implement them and have a much longer, happier life with them.
So if you weren't at that point in your life that you were trying for another child, do you think, like, it's kind of shocking, right? Because I could feel that in your voice when you said that. You know, I took the first one and I'm like, it had to have been wrong. You know, this has to be wrong, right? Like,
absolutely. Like well, the thing that I always think about with it was I'd already done this before. Like,
right.
I thought that it was, you know, if you have fertility problems, you get them the first time you try to have a kid. And I already had a kid, and it was nothing wrong had happened. So I thought for sure that there was no chance that, you know, it was that anything had changed, you know.
Right, because that's called secondary infertility, right?
Yeah.
But what we're talking about is really, you know, that your sperm count, you know, Sarah's going to jump in here, but she's just let me go. But, you know, your sperm count is a reflection of your overall health.
Mm-hmm.
And there you have it. You know, that was the trigger for you to, you know, listen to your big sister, take the test, and then make these amazing changes to create your family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's just like kind of the amazing thing is there's a lot of people, you know, there's a lot of people for whom there's some medical underlying condition, right? That's like serious and there for a long time and that they really need to get medical treatment. But there's another very large group of people for whom infertility comes as a result of a combination of small things. Mm-hmm. And it's really frustrating because, you know, you can't pinpoint anything that's like that would cause it. And you could go to a doctor and the doctor is also going to say, I don't see any reason why you would have a problem. Right.
Right.
But if you like take a deep, honest look at yourself, you could say, well, I eat crap and I don't do well. And, you know, that was the case for me when I, you know, back years ago, went to an OB and she said, look, you're not going to have kids. Your cycle is not in shape. And I like took that really seriously. And I made lifestyle changes way back then. And when I started track, I thought about no one saying that to my brothers. So I'm gonna.
And you're saying it to everybody else's brothers too.
Right. And I never thought that I actually would need to say it to my brothers. I never actually thought that any of them would have an issue.
Well,
but
I love that, Sarah. You didn't put it together for you. And then we always think it's not going to happen to us or our family.
Right. We come from, like, our grandma had 5 kids. Our mom had 5, or our grandma had 7. Our mom had 5. Our great grandma had 14. So like, we're from a family of rabbits. Like difficulty having kids was not something that was on any of our radars growing up. Like, it's just, we didn't ever, it never happened to anyone in our family.
I think that we all share that. Like, oh my God, how did this happen to me? I never thought it was going to happen to me, you know, and the same with my story, you know, I never thought it was going to happen to me. And here I was, like, what the hell? And so that's why I love, Jay, I so appreciate your honesty and your just sharing. And the fact that it was your sister, I just, you know, I love that. I just like how divine, like how divine.
I think another thing that people need to realize as well, especially like my generation, you know, I'm 30 years old, and by the time my parents were 30, they had me, and I'm the number 4, and I just had my second. People are having children a lot later nowadays than they did before. So, you know, as people get older, age is the one thing that, you know, is a bigger challenge as you get older, and you can't do anything about that. That's what makes this kind of, you know, lifestyle stuff so much more important if you're going to wait to have children, you know. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that was, I have to imagine that, you know, additional years added on to it made things a little bit more difficult. And that was why, you know, that maybe had something to do with it. And that's why I was able to have no problem before, and, you know, but a couple of years later, maybe I had a problem at that point. So,
well, yeah. I was thinking that exactly. I'm so glad you brought that up, because when I was doing the math when you were talking, you know, so you said you were 30, and then 2 years, you know, you were in the sweet spot for guys, you know, and then you add 2 years on it, and nobody talks about that for men. You know, there's a big conversation about women's age and fertility, but you know, you're sharing your story is gonna, I hope, have an aha moment for a lot of guys listening.
I hope so.
And so I know Sarah warned you that I was going to ask you, and I think maybe you already covered it, but what do you know now that you wished you knew then?
I wish that I knew that it can, that, fertility problems can arise out of nowhere. If you're able to have a child, don't think that you're going to be able to have a child next time around without any kind of attention paid to your fertility or to your reproductive health. So I would say that, those people that are wanting to continue to, have a family or have kids in the future, or even just live a healthier lifestyle, is do the things that Track recommends. From the small subtle changes to the larger lifestyle changes, they'll pay off immensely.
Awesome. Oh, you made my day, Jay. Thank you so much for sharing your story and for sharing, your baby. Yay!
Yeah, excellent. So, all right, don't cheer too loud. You might wake her up. So
okay, no more cheering. We promise. All right. Anything else, Sarah?
I think well, you know what? My last thing is, like, I would just highlight from their story as an outsider, and Jay kind of, like, he touched on it, but he touched on it kind of lightly. Like, they really made a commitment to this. They like, Tony changed her job. His wife changed her job, which is a big thing in a person's life, to say, you know what, I'm going to put my family first in front of my profession, and get a job that's gonna suit where I am in my life. And that's courage, because and Jay did too. Like, they made huge schedule and lifestyle changes so that she could reduce her stress and he could make these lifestyle changes. So it is a lot of little things, but sometimes it's really big things. And sometimes that commitment really can make a difference. So, just, for people that are planning, don't be afraid to be bold.
I love that. I love it. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much, Jay.
All right, you're welcome.
Bye, Sarah.
Bye.